What if the biggest reason you're losing trades has nothing to do with your strategy? Most traders spend years searching for the perfect indicator, the perfect setup, or the perfect mentor, never realizing they're fighting the wrong battle. Here's the hidden truth. Two people can take the exact same trade, follow the exact same rules, and still end up with completely different results. Why? Because the market doesn't expose your strategy first. It exposes your psychology. And that's the part almost nobody talks about. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why smart people keep making the same expensive mistakes, why emotions quietly sabotage even the best trading plans, and how a simple shift in the way you think can completely change the way you trade. But here's where it gets interesting. The first mistake isn't the one that's costing you the most. There's a deeper pattern hiding beneath every losing streak, and once you see it, you'll never look at the market the same way again. As we move forward, each chapter will uncover another layer of that hidden pattern, building toward one final lesson that brings everything together. That last chapter contains the most valuable insight in this entire video, and missing it could mean repeating the same cycle you've been trying to escape for years. If this conversation challenges the way you see trading, take a moment to like the video so more traders can discover it. Share your biggest trading struggle in the comments because your experience may help someone else recognize their own blind spot, and subscribe if you're ready to build the mindset that survives any market. Now let's uncover the invisible battle that separates traders who constantly chase profits from those who quietly create them. Chapter 1. The real reason you keep losing trades. Think about the last trade you lost. What was the first thing you blamed? Maybe the market changed direction. Maybe the news came out at the worst possible moment. Maybe your indicator failed. Or maybe you told yourself, I just need a better strategy. Now consider this. If a different strategy were the real answer, why do thousands of traders keep buying new courses, testing new indicators, and jumping from one system to another, yet still lose money year after year? The answer is uncomfortable because it forces you to look somewhere most people avoid. Your biggest opponent isn't the market. It's the version of yourself that shows up when real money is on the line. The market doesn't create fear. It reveals it. It doesn't create greed. It exposes it. It doesn't create impatience. It simply gives impatience a place to appear. Imagine standing in front of a mirror that reflects every hidden emotion you've tried to ignore. That's exactly what the market does. Every candle becomes a psychological test. Every price movement asks the same silent question. Can you stay committed to your plan, even when your emotions beg you not to? Most traders believe success comes from predicting what the market will do next. But the professionals understand something completely different. Their real advantage isn't prediction. It's preparation. They know they cannot control the next candle. They cannot control unexpected news. They cannot control what millions of other traders decide to do. What they can control is their response. And that changes everything. Here's something fascinating. The human brain was never designed for modern financial markets. When you see a trade moving against you, your brain interprets uncertainty as danger. Your heart beats faster. Your attention narrows. Logic begins to fade while emotion takes control. Without realizing it, you start making decisions that feel safe instead of decisions that are actually smart. You close winners too early because you're afraid they'll disappear. You hold losers too long because admitting you're wrong feels painful. You enter trades too late because you fear missing out. None of these decisions come from your trading plan. They come from your survival instincts. The market hasn't defeated your strategy. Your emotions have quietly rewritten it. This is why two traders can use the exact same setup and experience completely different results. One follows the plan with discipline. The other follows emotion disguised as logic. From the outside, their charts look identical. Inside their minds, they're living two completely different experiences. The surprising part is that losing doesn't always begin with a bad trade. It often begins with a single thought. I'll make an exception this time. That one sentence has destroyed more trading accounts than most people will ever realize. Because every exception weakens discipline. Every emotional decision strengthens bad habits, and every repeated habit slowly becomes your identity. The market is always watching the habits you practice, not the promises you make. The moment you understand that, you stop trying to beat the market and start learning how to master yourself. But recognizing the problem is only the beginning. The next challenge is far more difficult, because the habits destroying your consistency are often the ones that feel the most natural. Chapter 2. Break the mental habits that destroy consistency. Imagine waking up every morning determined to follow your trading plan perfectly. You tell yourself that today will be different. No emotional trades, no chasing the market, no revenge trading, no breaking your rules. Then the market opens. A setup appears, but you hesitate. Price starts moving without you. Suddenly, the fear of missing out becomes louder than your plan. Within seconds, you click the buy button, not because your strategy told you to, but because your emotions convinced you that this trade was different. Sound familiar? This is how inconsistency is born. Not through one massive mistake, but through hundreds of tiny decisions that seem harmless in the moment. The human mind loves comfort more than consistency. It constantly searches for shortcuts, quick rewards, and emotional relief. That's why breaking your trading rules often feels easier than following them. The reward is immediate. The consequences come later. And because they come later, your brain rarely connects the two. Think about it. A trader breaks a rule and still makes money. Instead of learning discipline, the brain learns something dangerous. It worked. That single experience strengthens the wrong habit. Days later, the same shortcut leads to a devastating loss. The trader blames the market. But the real damage happened long before the losing trade. It happened the moment discipline became optional. Here's something most people never realize. Success isn't built by making extraordinary decisions. It's built by refusing to make unnecessary ones. The best traders don't wake up asking, "How much money can I make today?" They ask a much better question. Can I execute my process exactly as planned? That shift changes everything. Because when your attention moves from outcomes to execution, pressure begins to disappear. You're no longer trying to force profits. You're trying to build trust in yourself. And trust is earned one disciplined action at a time. Picture two athletes training for the same championship. One practices only when motivation is high. The other trains whether motivation is present or not. Months later, their confidence looks completely different. Not because one is more talented, because one has evidence. Evidence that they can rely on themselves. Trading works the same way. Confidence doesn't come from winning. It comes from repeatedly keeping the promises you make to yourself. Every time you follow your rules, even after a loss, you're strengthening a mindset that can survive uncertainty. Every time you ignore them, even after a win, you're weakening that foundation. The market rewards consistency far more often than it rewards brilliance. And consistency is never an accident. It's the result of habits repeated until they become automatic. The goal is not to eliminate emotion. That's impossible. The goal is to stop letting emotion make your decisions. Because the moment your habits become stronger than your impulses, something remarkable happens. You stop reacting to every candle. You stop chasing every opportunity. You begin trading with patience instead of pressure. And that's when the market starts feeling completely different. But even disciplined habits aren't enough on their own. There's one deeper mental shift that separates traders who simply follow rules from those who truly trust the process, regardless of what happens next. On Chapter 3, think like a trader who trusts the process. Picture yourself placing a trade with complete confidence, not because you're certain it will win, but because you're completely at peace with the possibility that it might lose. For most people, that sounds impossible. After all, isn't the goal of trading to avoid losses? Surprisingly, that's the belief that traps countless traders. The moment you become emotionally attached to being right, every losing trade feels like a personal failure instead of a normal part of the game. And that's where your judgment begins to break down. Think about how most people react after a loss. They replay the chart over and over. They search for someone to blame. They promise they'll make the money back on the very next trade. Without realizing it, they've stopped trading the market. Now they're trading their emotions. The market has become secondary. Their ego has become the real decision maker. Here's something worth remembering. A single trade proves nothing. One winning trade doesn't make you a great trader. One losing trade doesn't make you a bad one. Yet the human mind loves to judge itself based on the most recent result. It's a dangerous habit because it keeps your emotions tied to outcomes you can never fully control. Now imagine a professional poker player. They know they can make the perfect decision and still lose the hand. Does that mean the decision was wrong? Of course not. They understand that short-term outcomes are unpredictable. Their job is to consistently make high-quality decisions, knowing that the probabilities will work over time. Trading demands the exact same mindset. Your responsibility isn't to control what the market does next. Your responsibility is to recognize an opportunity, follow your rules, manage your risk, and accept whatever outcome follows. When you truly understand this, something inside you changes. You stop needing every trade to validate your intelligence. You stop forcing opportunities that don't exist. You stop measuring your self-worth by the size of your account. Instead, you begin measuring success by something much more powerful. Did I follow my process? Did I respect my risk? Did I stay emotionally disciplined? If the answer is yes, you've already succeeded, even if that particular trade ended in a loss. That's a mindset few traders ever develop. But those who do discover an incredible freedom. They no longer fear uncertainty. They expect it. They no longer chase certainty. They build consistency. And consistency is what quietly separates professionals from everyone else. The market doesn't reward hope. It doesn't reward confidence alone. It rewards disciplined execution repeated over hundreds of trades. Results don't come from one perfect moment. They come from countless ordinary moments where you choose patience over impulse, logic over emotion, and process over prediction. Every one of those choices shapes the trader you're becoming. Not overnight, not in a week, but one decision at a time. And that's the hidden transformation most people never notice. Long before your account changes, your identity changes. The profitable trader isn't created by one big win. They're created by thousands of small, disciplined decisions that nobody else ever sees. But even this isn't the final piece of the puzzle. Because the greatest edge in trading isn't found in the market at all. It's found in the identity you choose to build every single day. Chapter 4. Build the mindset that makes profits inevitable. Imagine meeting two versions of yourself 1 year from today. The first trader is still searching, still buying new indicators, still changing strategies after every losing streak, still believing that the next system will finally solve everything. The second trader looks surprisingly calm. They don't celebrate every win. They don't panic after every loss. They simply show up, follow their process, manage their risk, and let time do what emotions never could. The difference between these two people isn't intelligence. It isn't experience. It isn't even talent. It's identity. Every action you repeat is casting a vote for the person you're becoming. When you ignore your rules, you're not just making one bad trade. You're reinforcing the identity of someone who cannot trust themselves. When you follow your plan, even when it's uncomfortable, you're strengthening the identity of a disciplined trader. An identity is powerful. Because once you truly believe that's who you are, your decisions begin to match that belief naturally. Most traders try to change their results first. The wiser approach is to change the person creating those results. Think about a professional athlete. They don't wake up each morning trying to prove they're an athlete. Their daily habits already reflect that identity. Training isn't something they force themselves to do. It's simply part of who they are. Trading works the same way. Discipline shouldn't feel like punishment. Patience shouldn't feel like waiting. Risk management shouldn't feel like limitation. They should become your normal. The moment they do, consistency stops feeling difficult. It becomes automatic. Here's a question that can transform the way you approach every trading session. Instead of asking, "How much money can I make today?" ask yourself, "What would the best version of me do in this moment?" That single question shifts your attention away from emotion and back toward character. And character is what survives every market condition. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be unexpected news. There will always be winning streaks that tempt your ego and losing streaks that test your patience. Those things never disappear. What changes is the person facing them. When your identity becomes stronger than your emotions, fear loses its power. Greed becomes easier to recognize. Impatience no longer controls your decisions. You stop reacting to every market movement because your confidence is no longer coming from the market. It's coming from yourself. And that's a confidence no losing trade can take away. The market doesn't pay people for predicting the future. It rewards those who can repeatedly make disciplined decisions while living with uncertainty. That's the real edge. Not a secret indicator. Not a magical strategy. A mind that remains steady when everything around it is moving. So the next time you sit in front of your charts, remember this. Your account is not just reflecting your strategy. It is reflecting your habits. Your habits are reflecting your identity. And your identity is shaping your future, one decision at a time. The traders who achieve lasting success don't conquer the market. They conquer themselves. Because the greatest victory in trading isn't making one profitable trade. It's becoming the kind of person who can make disciplined decisions for a lifetime. And once that transformation happens, profits stop being something you chase. They become the natural result of who you've chosen to become.